Evening and welcome to the Monomoy Regional School Committee meeting. Today's Thursday, July 11th. This meeting will be broadcast to Channel 22 as well as live streamed and recorded to the MRSC YouTube channel. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 5:59 p.m. Our first item on the agenda is adjournment to executive session. Roll call vote to adjourn to executive session pursuant to GLC 30A, Section 21A2, to discuss strategy with respect to contract negotiations with non-union personnel if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body and the chair so declares it. Regular open session to resume at approximately 6:30 p.m. We'll take the roll call vote. I'd like to have a motion, please.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, Ms. Rose?
Yes.
Mr. Schiff?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Ms. Ratlow?
Aye.
Ms. Anderson?
Aye.
Ms. Rogers?
Aye.
Aye. And I am an aye, and we will adjourn to executive session.
everyone.
Hello and welcome. We are back from executive session. It is now 6:31. For the record, we'd just like to let you know that Ryan Clark, who roll called in, had to leave unexpectedly. So we will move on to our next item on the agenda, which is the approval of the minutes for June 26th, 2024. Do we have any questions on the minutes as they were presented? May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Abstain.
Motion passes. Move on to public comment. Is there anyone here for public comment tonight?
Thank you. Charles Gruska, 60 Berry Ave, Harwich. I'm here, first of all, to express praise and enthusiasm as a resident taxpayer of Harwich for the presentation recently done by two members of the staff of the Monomoy Regional School District, Shayna Grogan and Pauline Linnell, to the Harwich Select Board. Talk about engaged citizenship. That was the best model of engaged citizenship I've seen since I've moved into the district in 2015. And it was a very moving, emotional presentation to the Harwich Board, the most positively emotional presentation I've ever witnessed the Harwich Board receiving in my time following the board. It was attended by a number of parents and students who are in the postgraduate program of the Monomoy Regional School District that Shayna is a teacher in support of an effort on Shayna's part to engage the entire community to extend out to the special needs environment an opportunity beyond age 22 to continue and have lifetime employment, a valued place, and feel a valued place in our society. It's a remarkable goal, and it was tremendously received by the board in Harwich and the community at large, including our new chief of police, many parents, many community members who work in the field. There were 27 or 29 additional letters submitted to the select board that weren't read but would have been just as deeply emotional, I'm sure. For me, as one who witnessed it for the first time in my life, and I was a special needs teacher for a while. I was a counselor. I was a principal who attended almost every IEP meeting because I thought that was where we really showed what we were made of as a school, was at those meetings, how far our caring extended. And I had never before thought about what happens after age 22. And I've never had to think about what it's like to be a parent, a family member of someone who achieves that point. So I moved with empathy. Like many other in the audience, I was moved to the verge of tears. I re-watched that section of the meeting earlier today and just speaking to you, I feel that. But what I also heard with all these comments coming out about the Monomoy Regional School District, about people who moved to this district because their children had special needs and they thought they could be educated best here. I have a daughter who shared with me that she had a client who moved to the district just because she had a child with special needs and because of the program here. So I just think everyone owes a debt of gratitude to Melissa McGuire, Shayna Grogan, Pauline Linnell, but every single person working in that department, everyone supporting them, and the school committee as you support their needs throughout the year whenever they're brought forward. And the select board of Harwich was moved and are behind this project and are going to make things, I believe, going to make things happen. It shows the power of what a single individual or two can do if they have a dream and if they have the desire to pursue that. And so hats off to Shayna Grogan and Pauline Linnell for modeling so well to all of us, I think, in all of our community, what an engaged citizenship looks like. Secondly, I also wanted, as you know, I wrote to you with a request that consider having your workshop televised or recorded so that it could be viewed by members of the community who were not able to attend it, and also mentioned the importance of doing that for the budget workshop that you do every year, which is really commendable, for the benefit of those who would like to attend and for a reason beyond their control cannot attend at that particular time. I know it's not a public meeting. It's not a place for public I mean, it is a public meeting. It's not a place for public comment. It's not a place where decisions are made. But when I think about it, I think it's two of the most important gatherings that the school committee has every year. The budget workshop has so much to do with the foundation of the budget you're actually going to eventually approve and bring forward. And I think it's important to see, for anyone who wants to see how that is formulated and see the information that you're getting to drive your decisions. I feel the same way about this workshop coming up in the summer. I know no one has ever attended. I know I've never attended in my time here. But when I heard last meeting, when I watched the recording of your meeting, I saw you were going to talk about issues such as mental health, social media. Those have been major topics for the high school council. The last 2 years, we've spent the majority of our time discussing those issues. I thought if you were going to be learning more about it, it'd be a great opportunity for members of the council, if they wish to just sit and learn as you're learning. I think it's also important as your constituent for me to be able to see what you're talking about, what thoughts are going through your mind as you go about trying to formulate the goals that we've elected you to develop for our school community as the people who have elected you in. I also thought it was a great idea to have a recording of your discussions to always fall back on because they're such important meetings, and sometimes in future discussions people say, oh, I thought we said this, I thought we did that. You can always check the record. So I just, earlier, just not long before the meeting, I heard back from the chair that that will not be honored. I was disappointed that there wasn't at least some public discussion by the committee on that. You have new members on the committee. They may have a different thinking than veteran members who have, or may not, but members who have been through the process many times before. And it just seemed like a particularly relevant topic just for me to be interested to want to hear firsthand, and there's no way for me to hear it any other way because it won't be recorded, and I'll only be able to hear about it by hearsay from whomever I ask and whatever their perspective is. So I hope for the future you would continue to consider that. I hope by the time budget workshop comes along next time around you'll consider having that recorded in case people who really want to be there can't. I think it's a good thing to always welcome even one individual. I think Shayna and Pauline showed us, what one individual can do in a community. I know the power of what one individual can sometimes do within a community, and I think that should be encouraged. I can understand wanting to have an informal setting or discussion, but as I said, this is a meeting where you're formulating the foundation for the goals that you're going to then bring out into future meetings. And appreciate that you continue to consider thinking about how you handle those particular informal meetings, and of which I would not fight for every single one, but those are two, the budget workshop and the formulation of goals, summer workshop, and especially, some in-service development that many of us on the high school council have been very interested in 2 years, to be able to somehow benefit from the information that you're going to be able to receive. And thanks, as always, for taking the time to listen and for providing the opportunity and respectfully considering my input. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else for public comment? Okay. We will move on to the reports and discussions and start with the curriculum update. Dr. Robin Millen.
Just do that, yeah. Good evening, everyone. Robin Millen, Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment for the district. I first want to introduce the team that we have here. The work that we do in our offices could not be done with a broader team. So we have the Director of ELA Humanities, Director Parker, Lindsay Parker. We have the new Director of Math STEM 512, Director Callahan. She'll be joining us. She's been here all week now. She's been started on July 1st. We have a couple of the principals. I know we have Christy Catone, but I just want to acknowledge that all the principals, all of the instructional leadership are part of our team. And then we have a couple of teachers with us as requested, and we have a couple of videos as well. But Ms. Botsford's here from the middle school ELA department, and also Ms. Rice from the special education department at the middle school. So they'll be joining us in our presentation. So we were asked to come provide an update of this year's goals. I'm going to leave most of this to Director Parker because this is the new roles, and I know you want to hear specifically from her. But I just want to set the stage a little bit about what you'll hear. You'll hear about our goals and our progress on those goals. You'll hear about our year in review. You will hear about our educator reflections, that's why our team is here, and our next steps moving forward. But before I start, or she starts, we are going to lay out some vocabulary. There will not be a quiz after this, but a lot of what we do talks in a lot of the edu speak, like a lot of our teacher talk. And I know our slides were full of acronyms and full of a lot of that kind of information that is like, what is that? So I just want to start with just background information like any good teacher will, and then I'll let the rest of it go. But please don't hesitate to interrupt us along the way. We can get very much into that role and then realize we're not talking necessarily the way that I talk to my husband, those type of things. So the first thing I just want to clarify is curriculum. So curriculum is a K-12 standards that is under local control. So the state gives us our frameworks. Our frameworks are so robust and so deep that if we were to try to do a second grade framework in 1 year, we wouldn't be able to do it. It would take almost about 2 to 3 years to get through any of our frameworks. If it's wellness, French, whatever it might be, they're very thick. And that's why you have local control. So curriculum is written by the district. It is offered from any content area we have those frameworks for. And we decide as a curriculum task force, which is another vocabulary word, as to what do we want our students to learn. So we call those priority standards. How do we know that they learned it? Those are assessments. And how do we assess those assessments? What do we do if they've learned it? So how do we accelerate and go deeper in the learning so that they move through those frameworks and those progressions and those priority standards? So we have graduates that come out with all the skills that the community wants. And then what do we do if they don't? How do we intervene, or how do we provide additional support? So that's essentially curriculum. When we do curriculum task force, we lock that curriculum, we scope it, we sequence it, and that's what the teachers will be teaching at every grade level and in every content level. From there, we also have professional learning communities. So we lovingly call those PLCs. PLCs are a continual way that we look at that curriculum. So every single month on those release Wednesdays, the teams are all looking at that curriculum, seeing how kids did, how did they learn, how are we moving things forward, what do we need to do, how do we adjust. Those are professional learning communities that happen all the time. So those are on a regular basis that takes a look at curriculum and instruction. And then after that, we have those larger K-12 curriculum task force that are cyclic. So those task forces have been offline since the pandemic. So they are filled with educators from the content area, sometimes other content areas. It depends on who fills that task force, but typically they go on a 5-year cycle so that we at least touch every content area throughout the district and look to make sure those priority standards are what we want and need for our kids as they graduate from our school system. Are we actually meeting the needs of our students? Are they doing what we think they, meeting mastery in those standards? So those are larger curriculum task forces that happen with those PLCs looking all the time at this work. And then from there, typically in those larger K-12 task forces, you also assess your high-quality instructional materials. So you review, this is what we wanted students to learn. Are the resources supporting the teachers to getting the students to get to the learning and the mastery of those learning standards? And then that review happens in those bigger task force times. If it doesn't, what do we have to do? Do we have to change resources? Do we have to supplement? Do we have to work on instructional strategies? Those conversations happen in those larger teams and again at those smaller PLC levels. What has happened over the last couple of years is that high quality instructional material review, that we call it HQIM, tons of acronyms. When I retire, write a book about education, all in acronyms. They have been having to be extrapolated out of those bigger teams. So you can't run K-12 task forces maybe more than 3 or 4 a year. They have big budgetary outcomes usually, because typically there'll be a resource adjustment, there'll be instructional practice adjustment, there'll be a curriculum adjustment, there'll be something. So you don't want them coming up every year. But since the pandemic, we've realized that we really got to take a look at our high-quality instructional resources in our classrooms. And so we've pulled some of those high-quality instructional material reviews out of those bigger task force. And particularly, you'll hear a lot about this, but we've looked at ELA foundational skills at the elementary level. We've looked at French curriculum or curricular resources at the high school. We've looked at social science at the middle school. And in those high-quality instructional material reviews, they're really important because we can look to see if they're working, and what do we do if they're not. And then we also do equity reviews, which is pretty new to this district, but we make sure that they are representative of all of our students and that all the students can access and be scaffolded or accelerated as needed through those resources. So there are some key phrases and key words to be thinking about. So I'm just going to briefly talk about our goals. Obviously, this is a new team. Our new team came together and said, you know what, the first goal overarching is that we're going to create effective and efficient systems for supporting supervision of learning, teaching, and curriculum. Again, we were all new. We were trying to get all the data, pull in our information from our entry plans, and we created that overall goal. And we're focusing it, obviously, on curriculum, instruction, and assessment, which is our jobs. And I'm not going to read this. You were provided the slides, so we're happy to answer any questions. But we inherited a wonderful system. Prior to me coming on, Director Smith and a team of educators had done a wonderful job of isolating for the district what are the key lever points that they know and should be happening in every classroom within our schools. And those 5 indicators that they outlined were, first, every minute matters. I did it for you. Every minute matters. Every lesson we teach has to be in those priority standards or be a progression standard. So that's one of the first key lever points that they isolated. Second one was that the depth of knowledge needs to be there. Like I said, our standards are very strong. They're very deep, and we want to make sure kids have opportunities to engage in that depth of learning so that they can progress. The third one was about engagement, and we want students to be engaged, and we know that they're engaged if they're talking and learning, and there's conversations between student and student, and there's conversations between teachers and students. And not just that the teacher's initiating it, that the students are initiating it, and they have some advocacy and some roles that they're playing and driving their own learning. So we also have, from there, I'm just trying to make sure, if I lose my space, I'm going to lose it. So we also want to make sure that there is relationships. So those 5 key standards are now in our new evaluation process. So our goals reflect that. So goal number 1 is obviously curriculum. We want to make sure that the priority standards are in our classroom. So our job is to be in service to our teachers and our administrators. So our job is to make sure those areas of focus are happening so they have the ability to have those priority standards, the focus of their instruction. The second one is in instruction. Obviously, you see that I missed differentiation. That's the other one. You see those 5 measures that we inherited in our evaluation and our key levers that we want to make sure we have in each classroom. So we want to make sure that we were seeing that and providing, again, service and professional capacity building and confidence building for everybody in our district to make sure that they're attending to those 5 lever points. And the last one is assessment. So we wanted to make sure that if we're doing these things, we are making decisions based off data. I mean, when I started in education, data, we didn't even look at it sometimes. We were like, oh, yeah, kids are learning, they're getting all A's. We are a very data-driven institution now. So we're constantly processing and making sure that we have systems of data analysis so that we're constantly in an improvement cycle and so that we're watching to make sure we're never done teaching. So that improvement cycle happens all the time. So putting a system in place that we're regularly seeing data cycles, both at PLCs, task force, administrative meetings, and throughout the district. And you'll hear a lot more from us next year about that. We're going to be coming back and sharing with the data. In fact, the strategic plan, we have identified our data measures of success for this year, and we'll be coming and updating you regularly on that next year. And now I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Lindsay Parker. Some of the team.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Great to see you all. I'm just going to talk a little bit about this year and how it went. It'll mostly focus on some of the work that I've done with the teams that I've worked with, and Robin will talk a little bit about the elementary school work. So we kind of broke it up into the months. So from August to November, I'm new to the district, the role is new, so I really wanted to focus on building relationships. I think I mentioned that last time I was here. Working with everybody this year has been amazing. I can't praise the teachers in the district enough, and the administrators. They've been so helpful. We have a great working relationship. They've been wonderful. A lot of walkthroughs. I was in the classrooms all year, but especially in the beginning of the year, just making my presence known. I wanted everyone to see me around, feel comfortable speaking with me, coming to me if they needed anything. So a lot of that took place in the beginning of the year. And then I focused in the beginning of the year on working with the instructional leaders at the middle school and the high school, both ELA and social studies, on the PLC structure. That felt like a good entry point, so that's where I started. We talked about their goals for the departments and then some of the work that they had done previously that they wanted to continue, and we made the decision to sort of merge at the middle school ELA and social studies to have one PLC that focused on writing, so that was great. And maybe Mrs. Botsford will talk a little bit about that. And then I don't know if you want to. We should just stand together.
Yes. So also, just kind of as a top-down look, as I said, they have a new lever, like key levers that we had inherited. So we wanted to work with our administrative team to calibrate those look-fors. What does it look like for a depth of knowledge inside of a classroom? So that we had that common language, and that as we're going in and giving feedback to our teachers, it looks the same at the elementary school, the middle school, and the high school. We have a common look. So we spent a lot of time calibrating as an administrative team to help support the coaching cycles and some of the cycles of improvement that we were looking at. We also wanted to make sure that we were building leadership and educators to identify goals, focusing the goals. We have lots of goals in schools, but the more goals you have, as you probably know in your own lives, the less you actually get done. So we wanted to make sure that as we were building the student learning goals, the professional practice goals, the PLC goals, student learning goals, and their own kind of indicator goals or grade level goals, that we had consistency and we were kind of streamlining them to stay on target to really leveraging those key points that we were talking about. And we have Ms. Rice in person, but she also gave us a video just to share what that looks like.
So I will share. I had asked teachers if anyone wanted to provide some feedback on some of the work that we did together this year, so Ms. Rice is one of the...
Since it's July, it's a little hard.
I know. I don't know if there's...
Good evening. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Amanda Rice. I'm a 5th grade special education teacher at Monomoy Middle School. I have had the pleasure of working with Director Lindsay Parker over the last year in many different ways. One of the biggest things that Lindsay has brought to our school is including the special education team in everything the humanities department does. This has been a huge shift this year and has made us feel more included and more welcome and has made our voices be heard. It's just such a great feeling to be able to be in the know, if you will, about what's going on with the humanities department. She invites us all to all of the PLCs. She invites us to curriculum meetings. It's just been such a great feeling to be included this year. I'm really excited to continue the work over the next year with the scope and sequence and choosing books and choosing a curriculum. Like I said, we're so lucky to have her. She's also on my floor with us, so we get to see her every day, which is an added bonus for sure. I am also currently in the CAGS program to get my administration license, and she's been such a great resource for that. She truly just, every time you ask a question or, want to learn more about something, she's immediately sending links and sending book recommendations and websites and PD opportunities. She just really wants to include everybody any way she can, which is such a great feeling, like I said. And she has just been such a pleasure to have this year, and we are very lucky and excited to continue to work with her.
Thank you.
Good
Ms.
evening.
Rice.
For those of you who don't know me,
It's a little awkward, but I'll move on. Yeah. So December to March, again, we really focus on from grades 5 through 12, In the humanities department, we focused a lot of our work during PLCs on the work that Lisa Westman had begun. She really got everything started as far as identifying priority standards and starting to look at how we can create common assessment. So I sort of picked up there and worked with grades 5 through 12 in the humanities department on sort of tightening that up. Like I said, the grade 5 through 7 humanities department decided to align their writing work together. So we really did a lot of that during PLCs. We looked at student work, we made adjustments, we created common assessments and rubrics, and that was just a lot of the work, making sure the priority standards were finalized and everyone understood them and how to assess them.
And then I worked with the elementary professional learning communities and also the instructional leadership at the elementary, and it was really clear right off the bat that they wanted their professional practice goal to focus on math programming. We had a new program resource back in I don't even know now, 2016 maybe, and the information that we were getting was that we really need to review that. We need to see if that program, that resource was making the gains that we needed our students to do. So they did an excellent job understanding, like they were working with a consultant when I came in. We kind of shifted the consultant's work, but also worked with the instructional leaders to make sure that the scope and sequence was actually priority standard aligned, that they weren't forwarding some priority standards from 6th grade to 2nd grade, and then what does that mean? Those type of things, like are kids getting exactly what they're supposed to be getting at that age? So we did a lot of work with scope and sequence review and revision. We did a lot of work with instructional strategy that they've implemented at the elementary school, which is math workshops. They're working with Dr. Allison Mello and really working on ways that instructional design can work for the best needs of the teacher. And I know she didn't want to talk, but I don't know if Christy wants to say anything on that. But it is excellent work. They did a wonderful job this year at that. Christy's hiding. All right, we will play a presentation for that.
Hi, I'm Lisa Forte Doyle. I've been teaching for over 30 years. I believe this is my 33rd year, first at Chatham High School and at Monomoy since its inception. And I just want to say a little something about Lindsay Parker. I have learned so much, believe it or not, after all these years. I've learned so much with her, working with her on adding the standards to my assignment descriptions. She's really helped me make my rubrics more specific. The wording is so important. I have a lot of assignments that are a little bit dated, I guess, and certainly in the wording and in what's expected. And these days, what's expected are definitely more specific requests, requirements, connecting to the standards from the state, like I said, the wording of the rubrics, the point values, everything has become much more specific. And I've had a little trouble with that, and she's really helped me with that a lot. And we're going to do even more work. So next year. So she's helped me update what were good assignments. They are good, I promise, but now I think they're even better and certainly clearer in terms of what's expected for the students, and I really thank her for that. What I really like about Lindsay is how she just pops by a lot. Maybe not everybody likes that, but I thought it was great. I thought she visited my class many more times than you normally see an evaluator. She pops in, she stays for a while, she talks to the kids know who she is, they've become familiar with her. She's very friendly, she's very down to earth, and her feedback has been so helpful. Her smile and her, visiting the classroom, it's never intimidating. I love it. I love the fact that she watches what we're doing and wants to know what's going on. I think she's terrific. So if you're thinking about whether or not to bring her back next year, I say yay, yes, see, and any other language you could say yes. Good. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Oh, dear. I feel very lucky to work with the people here. It's great. There's nothing that I'll get too specific in here, but one thing I did want to highlight that I didn't bold was peer observations. It's something I know that the teachers really wanted, and I was very, very excited to start and have the teachers begin to talk about how they were instructing in their classroom and use each other as a resource. So that's something that we started this year that I'm very excited about, and I'm hopeful will grow and grow in years to come. So, and then, okay. April to June, crazy time. Coaching cycles, that was another big chunk of the work that I did this year. We had some new educators. We had some educators who just wanted some additional support, so we would set them up on a coaching cycle. We'd meet, identify goals that they had, things that they wanted some feedback on, and then I would observe, meet again, give feedback, and then just continue that process. So that's something that we're going to continue as well. And then most recently, vetting and improving our summer curriculum work. So that's something I think that's been really, really great to see, having teachers who are really interested in doing the work over the summer and wanting to seek feedback and support for that. It's great. So Robin and I, and now Kristen, are working with teachers over the summer on different dates, tightening up some of their curriculum, mapping out some more of the scope and sequence, things like that. And then we already mentioned Kristen, she's here, so that's some of the work we're going to continue to do. We started at the end of the year, and we'll continue over the summer, just working with her.
So obviously, we had the strategic plan that was approved by your committee at the middle of the year. So the administrative team and instructional leadership have been working on how are we going to implement that plan. So we have finalized that first year of implementation. Like I said before, we have the success measures measured out as well so that we can keep track, hold some sort of internal and external accountability on the work we're doing to make sure we know what we're doing is working, and if not, what do we have to do to shift a little bit in our action planning. And then that is launching our goals for our summer administrative retreat, which is we actually are spreading it out. We're doing 5 days this year, but we're spreading it out in July and August, and we are going to be focusing on those strategic goals.
So just to kind of explain this a little bit, in the beginning of the year, in the middle of the year, and then at the end of the year, we had sent out just a Google form, completely anonymous, looking for feedback. I thrive on feedback. You can ask any of the teachers that I work with. I'm like constantly seeking it. And especially being new, I wanted to hear from them anything that they thought would help make my presence here more impactful. So in the beginning of the year, in the middle of the year, and then at the end of the year, we had sent out pretty similar. The questions changed a little bit as the end of the year approached, just because I was looking for some different feedback, maybe a little bit more specific. So I won't read them to you, but the next few slides are some tidbits from that feedback survey. And again, it was anonymous. It was not like I didn't force anyone to take it. They could take it if they wanted to. They didn't have to, but if they wanted to give feedback, I was happy to have it. And then I don't know if this might be a good time for Ms. Botsford to come in. She's prepared notes. Oh yeah, sure.
So did only 13 or 12 people respond to this survey?
For the end of the year one, yeah.
And about how many do we
Like
send it out to?
25-ish, 20 to
25-ish?
25, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not just the
That feels
folks that
better.
I work with, yeah. And I know when you say anonymous, some people are like, I don't know if I believe that, and that's totally fine. Again, I don't want anyone to feel like they need to fill anything out, but it is helpful to receive feedback, so, yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
So good evening. I'm Leslie Botsford. I'm a 6th grade ELA teacher at the middle school. So when Lindsay told us about this in the spring, I said, oh man, yeah, I want to be there. So I'm so glad to be able to be here because I know for me it was, I just feel like she just helped, drive my enthusiasm and make me feel supported. So I want to express how grateful I am for the incredible support Lindsay provided over the past year. Her natural leadership skills, professionalism, confidence, and genuine desire to help me become a better educator made a significant impact. Throughout the year, Lindsay took the time to get to know the students, showing genuine care and regularly dropping by my classroom to join in our activities. Her consistent presence, whether observing me or simply visiting, made her feel like a comfortable and welcome part of our class. Her feedback was always genuine and helpful. Lindsay's open door policy and available through her weekly schedule made it easy to arrange meetings with her. Whether I needed help with lesson adjustments, assignment differentiation, or feedback on new ideas, she was always there to listen, provide feedback, and other necessary resources. So I have one more paragraph, but I do want to jump in because about the peer.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, so Lindsay suggested this and she called it Welcome Mat. Which right there in the name, you're like, wow, so I'd be welcome to go into another class. So not only the opportunity, but she made it happen, like covering lunch duty. Like, we got a lot of people raising their hands like, you know what, I'll cover lunch duty. And that was phenomenal, because you got to, these teachers that you meet with all the time and you're good friends with and, you go out to lunch with, now you get to see them teach. And that was just an amazing program, and I came away with so much from that. And finally, as the year came to an end, Lindsay scheduled individual meetings with the grade level ELA teams, allowing us to spend a day planning our scope and sequence. Each new lesson we planned filled me with renewed enthusiasm and confidence. I felt like I had a freshly polished new playbook and a coach supporting me 100%. So, thank you for listening.
Okay, so looking forward, next steps, as always. We're going to continue that priority standards work, the success criteria, which is basically how do we know that students have learned these standards. That work needs to continue. I focused really mostly with ELA this year. We did some with social studies, but they're going to be getting at the middle school new curriculum, so we're going to start that work as they get the new curriculum next year. And then Robin and Kristen will work with math and science and STEM, both at the middle school and the high school, and then Robin at the elementary school. That's okay. If you want to talk about instruction.
Sure. So one of the nicest things that came out of this year was we have a professional development committee in our school system. So it's educators, Scott sits on it, we all sit on it. And we did a lot of work based off feedback that we received from our educators on the PD system and what we're offering for PD. So by the end of the school year this year, we were able to create a pathway model, which is it has the same sound as a strategic plan for our students. What's good for students is good for our educators and our adult learners as well. So we're looking at creating a 5-year pathway program that allows people to kind of generate a pathway and work on things with the idea that over the 5 years, core PDs like equity, inclusion, diversity, belonging, deep learning, like the depth of learning, engagement strategies, everybody will have that, but you kind of like choose your own adventure along the way, and that allows us to be flexible and nimble in the professional development that we're offering our educators, but it also allows us to give people the time and the space. If we're constantly asking our educators to learn, but we never give them the time to actually work on that learning and develop and grow as even better educators than they already are, that is not a very effective way to have learners learn. So we want to make sure that pathway allows time and space as well. So it's a very exciting update to a system that's been in place for a long time. And again, we can't do this work without all of those teams working together to find things that best fit and match Monomoy Regional School District.
All right, last one, assessment. So this year we started dabbling a little bit into this, but we're going to make it a bit more regular next year to have the admin teams engage in regular data meetings. So K-12, looking at student data and really using the assessments that we've created, looking at how we need to adjust them, etc. And that, of course, will be based on the school improvement plan and the goals for each school. And then we will share with you all via some data presentations and update you on our progress with the leadership team and those goals as well. And that is it. If you have any questions, please ask.
Madam Chair, very impressive with everything that you've done. Two questions. What more support would you need from the school in order to be more effective going into the next year?
I will say that the administrative teams here, the principals, Robin, Scott, are outstanding. Everything that I've needed help with, they've been able to help me. I meet regularly with them, so that has been wonderful. I can't really think of anything off the top of my head that I would need for additional support. I think just the collaboration and cooperation with everyone, teachers, administration, as long as that continues, I think we'll be all right.
And the second question is you outlined your goals, or
Yeah.
you have the goals. What's the one thing that, or one or two things that you weren't able to get to that you wish you had been able to?
I'll say for me, I think social studies had to take a little bit of back seat this year. I felt confident because both departments at the middle school and the high school are very strong. And it was helpful that they were able to get a new curriculum in place for the middle school next year, so that work can really start as the new materials come in. But I think a lot of my time was split, I would say like 70% of the time I had to be with ELA to finish up all of that work that had started during PLC time, so I wasn't able to be with the social studies team at the high school as much during PLC, but I think that'll correct itself this year. So that was a little bit, I would say, I'm not like disappointed, but I kind of accepted it. Towards the end of the year, I was like, okay, we'll start next year, get them kind of caught up to where ELA was this year. And then, I don't know if you have any.
So just briefly to your first question, this district has all the pieces that it needs in place. It just needs these positions and our positions, and Scott set us up to be so successful because we have everything that in our business would be evidence-based things that would lever a very high-functioning district, right? So allowing us to piece these things together and pull them all together, we have what we need. The community is very supportive. You're all very supportive. We have the positions from Michael to Joy to every educator we have and to every student that we have. So the need is not necessarily like, oh, we're missing this, right? We just, again, I think time is always the problem. Like you always want more time. But other than that, we're very in a good space in the system. The other thing, as far as the second question goes, when things happen in a school year when somebody goes down. Time is one of those things. And us coming in new, like for me, I'll just speak personally, like when I was a principal in the district for a lot of years, I thought I knew the system inside and out, and it took me longer than I thought to actually understand where the district is today. And so I think the growing that we've now done and that we've learned, kind of peeled back all those onions, we are able to do, now we can start putting everything back together. So, again, it would be time, but it's also just the fact that in order to really do this work well, you really have to understand all the systems and not just those little pieces to really get to the depth of it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Ms. Anderson?
I just want to say thank you. I think when we were developing, when admin was developing these roles and we supported it, one of the big things was, are you going to be present in classrooms? Are you going to be supporting teachers? And you said it, the video said it, you've got staff here that are shouting your praises. So thank you for all of the work, and we look forward to hearing more next year.
Thanks. Very lucky. Thank you.
Anyone else? Ms. Gaines?
Yeah, I just want to echo what Meredith just said. What has struck me tonight, as you all have been presenting, is just how approachable you all are. As a coach, that's important. And I think what I've seen tonight is people feel like Ms. Doyle, who I've known for years and educated both of my kids, to hear what she said, it really stuck with me. And I think that that's important, and the roles that you have is people obviously knock on your door with no hesitation, and that, I'm happy to hear that. So thank you for being you, because I think a lot of that is your personality,
Yes.
and you're bringing yourselves to the role. So thank you.
Thank you. appreciate it.
And I want to say work well done, everybody. This is amazing. It's exciting. You know, there's more to come. And it's all positive. And thank you. Anybody else? No? Okay. Oh, Ms.
Just
Henderson.
thanks for coming out on a summer night.
Yeah.
Thank you to the teachers that are here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is our annual workshop topic discussion, and I really just have it here to see if there's any other ideas that anyone wanted to float out there. We're working on getting this set up for July 31st, and I want to put that opportunity out there. Does anyone have anything they wanted to add us to think about?
I do as soon as I can find it.
All right, go to Ms. Henderson first, how's that?
Just having come on board here and just hearing all these tremendous successes, I've just really been impressed with and just didn't know about it. And I'm just wondering if one of the topics for consideration is some kind of communication plan to celebrate the successes that the Monomoy School District has had. Some of the other topics we're talking about are tough things in terms of, mental health and social media and all the things that go with that. But I'm just wondering if we want to look at another tact and communicate all the great things that come out, that are achieved by the teachers, the administration, and the students, and communicate that on a wide basis to really build the strength of the Monomoy brand. So,
Excellent. Thank you. Jackie?
Am I hearing a commercial?
I'm sorry, I'm a marketing guy.
I've been looking for it for years. I would just echo that's a great idea, and it doesn't have to be commercial, but I mean, what year are we coming in at? We had an anniversary year, we had if it's 7, it's not gonna be fun.
This has been year 10.
This is year 10.
Fully regionalized this
Right?
past year.
So, I mean, I don't know when that anniversary would fall, but when you're looking at doing something like that, you look at some type of quantitative amount that you might celebrate, and do something, maybe in different sections of the year. Maybe do something in the fall when you're welcoming the teachers and everyone back to school in celebration of our 10th year, or whatever it is. And then you do something in the middle of the year and at the end of the year, kind of celebrating that, and then kind of rolling all that, the portrait of the graduate into that. And I don't know, I'm on board with that. Maybe we can set that as a topic.
Yeah, in terms of celebrating, I mean, obviously, number 10 is a perfect time to be able to do that, and and to, talk about the success of the whole regional school district. I'm sure there were naysayers at that time, as it would be for anything, but it seems to have been tremendous success, and why not celebrate that and set it up for the future as well?
Right. Excellent. Ms. Anderson?
I just was going to ask, are we still thinking social emotional?
We are still thinking that's going to be one of our topics, and we wanted to get any kind of feedback tonight too before we started putting that together. Because time frame too is something that I want to think about. We could be there all night given the depth of some of these. So we're going to have to probably try and take some broad strokes. And I can send an email out after tonight's meeting too, just to say, okay, these are the people that we've been able to bring in that said that they can come, and these are the topics we're thinking about putting on the agenda. And just so everybody's in the loop before we put that agenda together. But yeah.
Just was going to share two things. First of all, on the social emotional piece, I have both the middle school principal and the high school principal collaborating on sort of a report out to you on some of the challenges that they're seeing from the from the trenches. And then just Brad, I appreciate the suggestion. I also want to just mention a lot of the great work that Joy does in sharing the successes. I think every little success that comes up, Joy does a great job of pumping it out there on social media, and sending press releases to the newspapers too. Yeah, and would love if you have ideas on how we can even get more traction out there.
Yeah, I just, and I absolutely enjoy, it's spectacular, but I'm just thinking of, the history just in terms of where it's come from, where we are now, and where we're going.
Scott, that presentation, is that for the July 31st date, or is that for the fall?
That's for the 30, they'll be set for the 31st.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you for that. Anything else on that topic? Oh, Jackie.
I wasn't here at the last meeting. I did review everything and cut pieces and reread all the notes, but I guess if I'm reiterating my question on the social emotional piece for the workshop, I know we're also going to be working on our goals. So I'm not sure what the agenda looks like and how, that's a lot for one workshop.
Correct.
It's almost, I think it historically has been two separate, like we did goals in one and we did workshop in another. So on the workshop side, my question is, if we're trying to finite social emotional, because it's so big, one of the things that comes to mind for me that stuck out to me this year was Miss Police's request, and you guys may have, and I missed it, talked about it, but yeah, her request and the need, and maybe that would help us streamline the focus for what the social emotional need is for this year's workshop, and maybe we could do a goal around that, but
Exactly.
that's definitely top of my list.
Yep, exactly. Thank you. Yep. Yeah.
Sorry if I repeated.
No, you didn't. You're
No, it's good.
saying what's on all of our
Yeah.
minds.
Oh,
and
okay.
We're all right there with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we are. I just wanted to add, coming off of Brad's comment, with the anniversary piece, and first of all, yes, Joy does an amazing job. I don't know if it would be helpful to have her for 10 minutes or so. I don't know, because I realize both of you, Bree and Brad, are new, so I don't know if that would help, but we could certainly talk about just a quick overview of all that you do. But one of the things I do want to say, and this came out in public comment this evening, that Brad alluded to, is if you haven't seen the presentation that was made from the select board, I cried. And I think, particularly when we go into the budget season, something like that is so powerful. Like, where is our money going? How are we investing it? And I think some of the testimonials that came on Monday evening was like, so powerful. So I think it might be a good opportunity for us to think about whether it's a commercial or whatever it is as we go into the budget cycle, because I think it's a good idea. Where were we? Where have we come? Who are we impacting? Because when you heard those parents speak, oh my gosh, I truly was crying. It was quite moving. Yeah. Jackie?
I was just going to reiterate, I mean, we're going to talk about this in the workshop, but you really lit a candle for me, Brad. I just feel like all of a sudden I'm sitting here going, wow, opening day when the chair has the speech to the administration and to the teachers, wouldn't it be amazing if you had a whole clip put together about where they work and how proud they should be, and maybe there's clips of our old school committee meetings when we were standing up and talking about the regionalization. I'm sure we've got it. And then clips like we had in our slideshow tonight showing teachers happy about, things that are happening in kids, and then clips from school committee meetings or clips from selectmen's meetings, things like that make that staff proud to be where they are and see how much they've achieved. Even something just very powerful like that, and then that could stream into more media-driven. But I do think it'd be good to recap all the things we do already, so that we're not repeating and then coming up with something. And now I'm done.
Well, and just to piggyback off of all of this, I was thinking during the presentation with the curriculum directors, just how going into that, it was such a leap of faith for us to spend that much money on these two roles that could really be pivotal to our district, and it worked, and it's turned out so well. And so celebrating something like that and showing that amount of money was worth it, and look at what's been accomplished as a result.
Yeah. Just one more quick thing. You're exactly right, because whenever we go, particularly adding something on an administrative level, there's a lot of pushback, from a budget perspective, but to actually hear the story, it's all about stories.
Right.
And to hear the stories and the impact, and when something moves you to tears, it's yeah. So I think, yeah, that's part of we need to work all that in. Because again, it's about budget. I mean, we are, if you think about Chatham and Harwich, we're a big part of their budgets. And so where is that money going? How is it impacting people? I mean, 10-year anniversary is a great time to say this is what we've done.
Anything else? Thank you very much. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Moving on to our transportation offset to assessment. Mr. McMillan.
Good evening, school committee. Michael McMillan, I'm the school business manager. I have 3 items on the agenda now for your delectation. This first item is our transportation offset. So every year we get money from the state to reimburse us for transportation costs. So they reimburse a relatively small amount of our transportation costs, but that's because we're a regional district, and regional districts in theory, well not just in theory, but in reality have more transportation costs. And so one of the incentives for becoming a regional school district is that the state helps to offset those costs. So they give us money for that. And every year as we put together the budget and the assessments, we estimate how much money they're going to give us. And if they give, and we normally underestimate that slightly because we're a bit more conservative with our estimates than they are in how much they eventually give us. So if there's a difference, we're allowed to use that difference to offset a future budget and assessment to the towns. So in FY24, we estimated that there would be $611,000 to offset the FY24 budget, $611,000. We actually received $823,000. So that difference of $212,000, we can use that to offset next year. This is FY26's assessment. It just requires a vote of the school committee to do that. But it's good news because the offset for the FY25 budget was only $19,000. So this is already a good sign for how the FY26 budget assessment will go up, because we have an extra $100,000 or plus $100,000 to reduce the assessments more than we did for FY25. Does that all make sense? Mm-hmm. So just a motion, I'm just looking for a motion to approve that assessment.
Yeah, I'd like to approve an offset of $212,704 to be applied to the FY26 transportation portion of the assessment as presented in your packet.
Second?
Second.
Anyone have any questions?
Just a question, just
Yes.
for my own education. So 5 of the last 6 years it's been over $100,000, and again, what's led to that? Understanding it's 10% or so of the overall budget, but what's led to that, and do you expect that looks like it will always continue?
So the number we actually use for the assessment, so the state produces a cherry sheet. So they produce, as the state budget progresses its way through the different committees at the state level, they give us different drafts of the budget. And because we are developing our budget before they're finalizing their budget, we have to use one of their draft numbers. So we use that draft number. And then, but the final budget, and actually the transportation assessment isn't always budget, it depends how much money the state puts in transportation throughout the year. That's often more than they had in their draft budget. So it's kind of just the nature of the way the budget's put together that often the draft budgets that we get from the state are a little more conservative, and so that's the one we use. And then we get that, so it comes back. I mean, $100,000 isn't gonna make or break our budget and assessments. So it's not, so while it's really important, it doesn't really, it doesn't stop us being able to pass a budget or an assessment, whether it's up or down. But it did hurt this year that it was so low, that it was only $20,000. I mean, each year when we see the numbers coming out from the state, we can kind of interpret where the state's at, what we're hearing at the state level. Do we think the numbers are going to be higher or lower? But like you say, I mean, they're broadly in the same kind of realm that they're always in. The thing is, how much it has gone up, so back in FY15 it was only $360,000 we received in total aid. We're now up to $800,000, so I mean, and that's more than inflation. So it's increased slowly over time. You know, I don't know what's going to happen at the state level, whether that's going to change, but it's useful to offset our budget. But we don't want to overestimate it, because it'd be much worse if we have less than we eventually get. So taking a conservative approach makes sense.
Understood.
And just for a little bit of background information, this is really the only place that there's a perk for school districts to regionalize. So there are other school districts who are not regional school districts that don't get financial support from the state for transportation, and some of those districts choose to augment in their budget, and they charge families to go and ride the bus. So by getting this money, you cannot charge families. Not that that's ever been a conversation at the table, but it is that one little place that regional school districts get some perk for regionalizing. So there's been a lot of push from the state, regionalize, but this is the one spot that you see a little perk for that.
Anything else? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Passes unanimously. Next up.
All right, thank you very much. So this is another kind of administrative vote. So when we get our general fund, we get our budget, funded by the state and by our towns. That money is really to be spent, can only be spent in the fiscal year in which it's received. So our FY24 budget has to be spent in FY24. However, sometimes as we get towards the end of the year, we've ordered goods and sometimes received them, but we've not actually received the invoice yet. So to allow us to pay that invoice when we receive it, which might be, in the middle, late July into August, we need your approval to pay those invoices, because really we're using FY24 funds even though we're in FY25. So we encumber the funds out of the FY24 budget, which means we kind of set aside those funds from the FY24 budget. So it's still FY24 money we're just spending it in FY25 because the invoices are related to commitments that were made in FY24. So we just need your approval to set aside those encumbrances from the FY24 budget to pay for those invoices we receive later in FY25. And so we go through, Leanne Marcotte, the accounts payable person, has been sweating every single invoice to try and get bills from our vendors to get them paid, and we try and cut the number down as much as we can. But right now we have $145,057 worth of purchase orders still outstanding, where we're still expecting to receive an invoice over the coming weeks and months. If we don't receive an invoice, so if you approve this, and if we don't receive an invoice, then we release the funds, and essentially it's just like having money left over at the end of the year, and it essentially flows into our excess deficiency next year. And however, on the other hand, if we receive an invoice that we haven't created an encumbrance for because, it just got missed, or, somebody ordered something but hadn't told us, and we receive an invoice later that's not on this list, we'll come back to you and ask your approval to pay that of FY25 funds.
Any questions? Jen?
I just have one question. In regards to the vendor versus payee, they're not in quantity, not in the numerable value of it, but there's a lot of payee versus vendor that are falling under this. Like staff or whatever. And I just don't know if that's just situational, if it's courses that they're taking and they're falling, and there's no control over pushing them back.
Exactly. So it's a lot of courses where staff have taken courses that have ended, just around the end of the year, so we may not have the final invoice from. And often before we reimburse them, we need to see that they passed the course and they got the credit, and you just don't have that documentation.
That's what I thought,
yet. So it does. It was more than normal, but that's the.
I was going to ask and this happens in any business. It's just always, and it's always a tough thing too. So you've done everything you try to do to mitigate it. In terms of this happening, because obviously it's going to happen every year. And first question I go is, how much was it last year?
So it was, I want to say like 89, 90,000 last year.
Okay.
So it is, so, I mean, and this is, I have this conversation with the accounts payable person, I mean, carrying over money is fine. Like so say we owe somebody $10,000 and we get the bill in August, we pay it, there's no harm, no foul, it's not a big deal. I mean, often we don't get billed. The only difference here is that the bill is over the end of the financial year. I mean, often we do something in January, we don't get the bill till April, but it's not a big deal. The risk is that we encumber something that we don't end up getting the bill for, or that's incorrect. Because then that means we've taken money out of the FY24 budget, and we still get the money eventually, it's just delayed a year because we've put it aside for a certain purpose that it's not been needed for. So that's what we're really focused on, trying to get the bills, but if we can't get the bills, trying to make sure that what we're encumbering is as accurate as possible.
Does a note go out to these vendors, and understanding the individuals, because it sounds like, the process that you explained,
Yeah.
that it must, if they want to get paid, they must get it in by a certain time?
Well, so we try to say that, but legally, that's not the case. So if somebody rocks up in 2 years' time and says, here's proof that I provided you a service, we made a commitment, we have to pay it.
Right.
So, yes, we do say, hey, if you don't get us the bill, we're just going to consider it a donation, but that's not true. So we have to
True, and understand that legally, but it's sending a note and encouraging to get in, because sometimes it's, in terms of any business billing, they can make it a priority if they want to. Or they just forget about it, and then they do it at the end of 30 days. So it's not threatening them, but encouraging them to get in. I bet, if that could be done, that's a way to be able to mitigate some of this.
So we definitely do that. I mean, a lot of the companies on here are people we're using all the time. So we have so many interactions with them and bills going back and forth that so we are, yes, constantly pressuring them to try and get the bills back in time, and we'll keep doing that. But it's like, sometimes it's an issue with their records, or sometimes, somebody will have ordered 100 library books and will have received 98 of them, and we're just trying to track down those last two, and that's why they're on the list.
It's tedious, Michael. I'm just out of curiosity, the Norel service and the Limbach company, what are those?
Yep, so Norel is the company we hired to upgrade the PA system at all 4 buildings, so that was part of our capital plan.
Right.
So we've made a lot of progress there, but we had to do one extra piece of work, which was at Harwich Elementary School, which, so at the moment, until we got Norel in to do this, we had like 2 phone systems, 2 alarm systems, and 2 door systems, 2 PA systems, all because we had the legacy system and the new system, and that was causing problems because they weren't all talking to each other, and the PA system wasn't working some of the times, the doors weren't working, so we've just put in a new piece of equipment to do that. So we ordered it like back in April, we had to wait for the piece to come in, they started the installation, and they're finishing it over the summer, so it's like half in last year, and 3/4 in last year, and just the last piece so we can pay them is going to happen like any minute now.
So we did the middle school, was prior to school starting this year.
The middle school was all done by the start, yes.
Right, so that's what I was thinking. I was like, okay, wait a minute, I thought that was already done, but so it was the Harwich piece that held this one back.
Yeah, so this is the final piece of that.
Because if you look at that number, and then if you look at the Limbach company, those are the 2 driving numbers that got you to higher than you were last year.
Exactly.
So I was like,
spot on. And so Limbach, so I don't actually know the details on these specific purchase orders. We pay farcical amount of money to Limbach because they're the company that oversee our HVAC system.
Oh, the HVAC system.
Yeah. So they've done we've had so many purchase orders for them this year, and actually I do know what one of those is. We're just trying to track down whether or not we definitely have to pay. There is a possibility we don't have to pay one of those things because they weren't able to do it in the end. We just hadn't tracked it down before we had to get this vote in.
What's the name of the thing on the roof?
Archives roof documents.
No.
The middle school roof?
No, there was something else, a something converter.
The one that broke above the
Yeah, the one that broke above the gym.
Oh, yeah, before my time.
It was before your time.
Yeah.
That's all right. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
God, no.
May I have a motion?
Sure. Motion to approve the general fund FY24 encumbrances of $145,057 to be paid during FY25 as presented in your packet.
Second? Second. It's Jess. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes. And lastly,
All right, thank you very much. So the next sort of vote I'm asking for is kind of the culmination of two, or not, it's actually just the next step in a couple of things that I've been before you a number of times last year to talk about. So the first thing is the middle school siding project. So as you may remember, or if you weren't there, I'll fill you in. So we need to replace the siding at the middle school. It's in the state of disrepair. There's a lot of, missing shingles. There's the trim is worn away. There's like holes through to the inner part of the wall, and so we would like to replace all that. And so we went to the towns and we got their approval to borrow $2.5 million to do that replacement. So that's a big project, and it is, believe it or not, out with my expertise to be able to draw up the specifications and design in order to do that. So, because what we need to do, we need to come up with a plan, and we need to use that plan to go out to bid to get construction companies in order to do the actual construction.
I'm so happy. I can see you looking at me. He's staring at me.
So there's that, and that's still going on, and we haven't issued the debt yet, and that will be the subject of further conversations. However, we have started talking to designers about getting the specifications and the procurement documents prepared, and also there's, we have a number of issues at the middle school with water and air quality that we believe is related to the siding, so we want to get some testing done of that so we understand exactly what we're going to find, but once we start ripping things off, so that we have the most detailed specifications to avoid problems tripping us up when we start the project. So I was here a month or so ago to talk about our house architect contract. So we now have we have three architects on a kind of an on-call contract. And so we can use one of them to do this work. And so I ranked the three that we have, and we chose Raymond Design Associates to begin negotiations with. And they provided a proposal to get this work started. And so and under our designer selection procedure, if it's a fee over $50,000, it requires school committee approval in order to enter into that design contract. So that's why I'm here requesting approval to enter into that contract with Raymond Design Associates. So Raymond Design Associates are going to do, so I've included in the pack their proposal. It is $100,000 for that work. The way the process works, as you may recall from our conversation last time, is it's not the architect is not selected on price. They're selected on qualifications, which is a legal requirement. And what we do is we require the best suited architect, and we enter into negotiations with them to discuss exactly what they'll do and what it will involve and how it will be priced. And that this proposal from RDA is a culmination of that. So I've kind of gone, I don't want to, how much detail to go in, but that's kind of the overview. Any questions or thoughts?
no questions. May I have a motion?
I'll make the motion. Motion to approve that the district accept Raymond Design Associates' proposal for the feasibility study of the middle school siding replacement project and issue a notice to proceed under the existing house architect contract.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Passes unanimously.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you
It's
very much.
exciting.
Very much.
Thank you.
We have no subcommittee or representative or liaison reports.
I just have one quick announcement. This just came in yesterday, so just an announcement that I have been nominated as a school committee member for the Massachusetts Association of Regional Schools. So, thank you. And that just came in yesterday, so it has been finalized, but I just wanted to share it with all of you. We were talking about regional schools earlier, and it reminded me, so I wrote it down.
Welcome to Mars.
Yes, I will be on Mars. Yes.
Fabulous.
That's awesome. Congratulations. Thank you. Anybody else? Additional? Okay. Superintendent's report.
Just three quick things. First, Harwich Elementary's PTO and the Garden Club of Harwich collaborated on a project to plant additional trees around the playground at the elementary school, as well as installing some benches. Donors contributed funds for the trees and benches, along with funding from the Garden Club and the Chatham Harwich Women's Club. A number of community organizations donated materials and time to the project, and we thank them all for their participation. This week's Cape Cod Chronicle has a detailed article about the project for those who want to learn more. Second, the staff of Chatham Elementary School entered a float in this year's Chatham 4th of July Parade. Staff and students from the 3rd and 4th grades joined the float with the theme of "Success at CES is a Sure Thing." Parade judges awarded CES the Best Civics Float Award. Congrats to all who participated. And last, but finally, I will let Lisa Fort Doyle know tomorrow that we intend to keep Lindsay Parker around.
Oh, okay, good.
Okay.
Yes, please.
She was worried.
That's great. Last on our list, it looks like, is the second reading of some files.
Is this, so the first one is coming out of the policy subcommittee, was the purchasing policy for the credit card program.
Yep. Did anyone have any?
So are there any questions? We went through it
Yep.
the last school committee meeting, and are there any questions about that?
Okay.
I don't have any questions, just, I guess, point of order. In order to discuss or question it, we would have to have it under reports and discussions, because it's only under as an action item. Just
It's a
clarify.
second read.
It's a second read, yeah.
Right, so it's a vote only, so we're not discussing it. I just wanted to clarify.
Would you like to discuss it at a later time?
It's a great question. Do you want to discuss it at a later time? Would you like us to hold off on this?
I don't, no, I don't need to discuss it, I just don't
Okay.
want to violate anything, because
Thank
it's
you.
not under reports and discussions, so we really can't discuss or ask questions
Okay.
about it, because it's only under action item.
All right. So I guess I'm just asking for a motion.
Can I put them together?
Woo!
So I would like to make a motion to approve file DJA and file IHBA as they appear in our packets.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? All right. We've had the presentation of warrants. And do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? We adjourn at 7:48.
All righty.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.